Okay, what do you tell me what memories you have of your uncle and the what feelings you have about tomorrow?
Actually, my memories of my uncle come from my grandmother and my dad. Unfortunately, my uncle died in '51, and I was born in '57, so I never actually got to meet him. But everything that I've learned about Father Emil, and everything that I know about Father Emil, and everything that I feel about Father Emil has all been through my grandmother and my dad. Father Emil was just an exceptional man, an exceptional priest, an exceptional soldier, a person who lived totally by his faith, was totally devoted to his country, totally devoted to his faith, a person who everything that he did was by example of what he did. He didn't go out and preach to everybody about how they needed to live their life. He showed them how to live their lives. And that, the faith and everything that he had, and the belief that everything he had. I mean, he grew up in a small town in Kansas, out in Pilsen, Kansas, with a very deep faith community, a community that still, to this day, has so much support for Father Emil and so much belief in what Father Emil did. And it just reflects on how he grew up and how his life was. My feeling and our family's feeling about today is just a huge honor, and the honor falls towards to be able to have people be able to see and understand and know what Father Emil actually did and what his life was and how he led his life, and to have the POWs who are in the camp with him to be able to be here tomorrow, to be able to see what all the stories that they told and everything that they had, to be able to finally see that, be able to come to them and to understand that everything that they said that is finally able to come true, that everybody else is finally going to see what he was.
Thank you for that. What, having been born after he had passed on, did your family pass along some of the tales of heroism or some of the valorous things that he did while he was in that POW camp?
Yes, we did, but more of it was passed on through more of the community of Pilsen, and a lot of what was passed on with the POWs, because they fought beside him. Father Emil was a person who fought beside these guys as a soldier. He didn't fight beside them as a priest. I mean, you taught to these guys, and a lot of times when they would have first met him, they didn't even realize he was even a priest or a chaplain. He was just one of the guys. He was there to help them. He was there fighting beside them. He would get just as dirty and as filthy as they were. So, all the stories that came out that my grandmother would even tell us, all of that came from the POWs and passed down and talking to people. It was their belief in what he did to help them get through the prison camp, to help them actually survive, and for them to finally understand that maybe there is going to be a better day, maybe we will get out of here tomorrow. Just to be able to give them just a little bit of faith and a little bit of glimmer of hope so they could get up the next day. There's stories of people who would, they would tell Father Emil or tell, one of their comrades there in the camp of, don't wake me up in the morning. Because if they say that, then there was a pretty good chance that they would be dead in the morning. And Father Emil wouldn't let that happen. He would find some way, if it was just telling them, hey, here's a cup of hot coffee, and all it was hot water that maybe had not much more than dirt thrown in it. But that's how he got them to survive. And those are the stories that were told, and those were the guys that told the stories and never stopped telling those stories.
It sounds like there were some pretty compelling stories. Do you have one example that you recall in particular that most moved you the most?
There was so many that they had talked about. I think, but one of the more profound one was when they were actually on the battlefield. About at the same time they were going to be captured. Their camp was getting overrun. They had to retreat, but Father Emil just was not going to leave. He could not leave the wounded guys there because he knew what was going to happen to him. He knew that they weren't going to make it out of there, and the odds are, if they didn't get in retreat and get out of there soon enough, that they were going to be overrun and they'd be captured or killed. And as it would happen, Father Emil was tending with these guys, and they had gotten captured along with Father Emil as well. And during that time, one of the guys, Herbert Miller, who actually his ankle was wounded, he had gotten shot and he couldn't stand, and he was laying on the ground, and one of the Chinese soldiers had came up to him with a gun and was pointing it right at his head and was getting ready to pull the trigger. And Father Emil walks away from the guys who were holding him and just strolls over to this Chinese soldier and basically pushes him to the ground and picks up Herb Miller and just walks away. And the soldier just stood there. He didn't even shoot him. And that was the kind of courage that Father Emil had. It was courage, but it was more just wanting to help his fellow man, no matter what it took, no matter what it did to him. There was never a thought in his mind of what would happen to him, and that, and then all the stories relate back to that.
A local congressman is the one who started the effort to see if he could be awarded the Medal of Honor. What were your thoughts when that started? Did you ever think that this could become reality?
I mean, we always believed it was going to become a reality. I mean, we knew about it all of our lives, and you know, it had always been talked about for such a long time. But you know, I look at how it is right now, and how much interest there is in what Father Emil did, and what his life was, and what his legacy is, and how many people know about it, and how many people who helped the cause. I mean, just like you said, like the local congressman who got involved and helped the cause, because they all knew what he was and what he did, and they knew that it would inspire others. You know, I look at the timing of what it is now, and I truly believe that right now is the right time. I truly believe that because of so many people who know about Father Emil and know what he did, that now is the right time for this.
The Catholic Church has begun a process looking at sainthood for Father Emil. How does that make you feel? How did that all come about?
Well, to start off, it makes me feel really humble, and it makes me feel really honored. You know, there was a lot of things involved. There was some miracles that is being investigated right now, but you know, a lot of that came about even before all of that even happened, and a lot of it came about from how his actions were on the battlefield, and a lot of how his actions were in the camp, of how he helped people unselfishly, of how these guys believed in him, how all these people of all the faiths or no faith at all would flock to him like a moth to a flame. I mean, they knew that he was going to be able to help them, and they knew that they would give them that glimmer of hope. And I think it's just all come together as one. You know, the Medal of Honor and the possible sainthood has all become this, like a shining light almost at this point.
North Korea is big in the news right now. Your uncle served in North Korea. That's a conflict that's obviously still fresh in our minds. So what are your thoughts on that, this conflict is potentially something that we could be living with for a much longer time period, too?
Well, I look at that and everything that's going on, and I guess I look back on, I feel the way Father Emil felt as far as what he went through. I mean, he volunteered to be a chaplain. He was at a parish priest. You know, he was there for a year and volunteered to go back in, and because as he stated, he wanted to be with his boys and he wanted to go in there with him. And he was in that conflict. He was there to help the boys. He was there to give them moral support. He was there to fight beside them. He was there to be just one of them, to help them. It didn't have anything to do what was going on in the world and who was against what. It was his unselfishness of being there, and I really think he would think the same way today. He would immediately step that direction and be there for the boys and be there for his men.
Okay, thank you. Now, can you ask the staff there if there's somebody who's going to interview you after me right now, or what time they're supposed to interview you?
He was just asking if there's somebody else.
Yeah, we have someone. Tell them we have someone local in studio right after.
Yeah, they have someone local here in studio right after you.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. And are you at the Pentagon right now?
Pardon me?
They asked if you're at the
Are you at the Pentagon right now?
Yeah, yes, I am.
I'll share the story that we are going through satellites thousands of miles in the sky, and I am just one corridor down from you.
Isn't technology amazing?
That's great. All right. Ask me later.
It's crazy. If I could ask you just one last question. Yeah, I'm going to ask you one last question.
Okay.
When President Obama, I imagine he called your family directly. What were the words that he said, and what were the emotions that y'all felt when that happened?
He actually called my mother directly, and had told her at the time that this medal was going to be awarded, the well-deserved medal was going to be awarded, and told her that that at this point that she was not going to be able to say anything. And it's kind of funny story because Mom held his words to firmness, because she wasn't even going to tell the family members about this until it was announced. So, but she was very honored, very much like the rest of us, just unbelievable, and just honored that finally that Father Emil that is going to get out, and it's going to be known to all the people.
And your mom's name, and is she the younger sister or older sister?
No, this is my mother, Helen.
No, your mother is Father Emil's younger sister or older sister?
No, sister-in-law.
Ah, got it. Okay, got it. Now I understand. All right. Well, Ray, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate your patience with this technological feat here. We got a lot going, a lot of bubbles going on. Well, thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. Goodbye.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too.
Yeah, Catholic.